Hello, I'm Kevin Quigley. I've been doing a music radio show for a few years now, and recently I decided to do a political show. So I've set up a social media hub called Earworm Community, and I've been covering the election in Northampton North. I've also been reading this great book on the Ukraine. Here it is. It's by Andrew Wilson. It mainly deals with the recent troubles in the Crimea, being annexed by Russia and other recent troubles. So what's the Ukraine got to do with the election in Northampton North, you might ask? Well, by chance I heard that the incumbent Conservative MP Michael Ellis was funded by a Ukrainian oligarch. If this was true, I thought it was very interesting. So I've got a few clips here and I've got a few notes, so excuse me if I have to read through them. There was an event at the Derngate Theatre in Northampton a few days ago, which all the candidates attended, and Michael agreed to talk on camera for a few minutes, so I got to ask him about his funding. My voice is a bit murky because I kept the mic on Michael throughout, but what I say at the start is, I understand you receive a lot of money from a Ukrainian oligarch, Mr. Alexander Temerko. Could he tell me a bit more about that? Does he think it's appropriate? I understand you receive a lot of money from a Ukrainian oligarch, Mr. Alexander Temerko. I wonder if you could tell me a bit more about that. Do you think that's appropriate to receive money?
Well, I think you need to be very careful about your facts.
Well, he says I should be very careful about my facts. Well, fine, okay, let's have a look at some facts. So, we can see, for one thing, there's a Wikipedia page on Alexander Temerko, which you can look at yourself. It says he's a Ukrainian-born businessman in the energy sector, currently director of the OGN Group. In 2011, Temerko received British citizenship. He is a member of and major donor to the Conservative Party. According to an article by Francis Carr-Begbie, he's donated nearly $500,000 to the party. His offshore wind energy company benefited from at least $4.5 million through the Department of Business's Regional Growth Fund. So what's his background? He was a vice president at the Russian Yukos oil and gas company. Now, you can read a lot about Yukos on Wikipedia. It's not worth going into now, but it's quite an interesting story. Temerko was charged by the Russian authorities with fraud committed in 2002 and with perverting the course of justice. Now, the charges by the Russian authority don't have much weight in themselves because there's serious doubt about how legitimate they are. In any case, he's since been granted British citizenship, putting himself beyond their reach. Let's have a look at a bit more of the footage.
That suggestion actually is wholly incorrect. It would be an offence to receive money from foreign citizens. So I receive donations from permissible sources and only from British citizens or companies registered at Companies House. So your information is incorrect, and I think you need to be very careful about those sorts of questions.
So twice Mr. Ellis says I should be very careful, which seemed a little bit intimidating to me. I'm also struck by how evasive he seems to be. On the next bit of footage, he's talking over me a bit, but I said, I know he's a British citizen now. Then I say he was Ukrainian, and see what he comes back with me at. So now, but
no, you've described him as Ukrainian, and I think it's that sort of misinformation which is, well, I think that's quite a racist thing to say, if I may say so.
Did he really just call me a racist? Let's just have another look at this.
Well, I think that's quite a racist thing to say, if I may say so.
Apparently he did call me a racist. Am I a racist? I only said that he was Ukrainian. If someone was born in Ukraine and spent most of their adult life as a Ukrainian, is it really racism to talk about him as a Ukrainian? And I did say he was a Ukrainian. Why is he calling me a racist? So the debate goes on. I think the next thing I say, it's a bit difficult to make out, but I say something like, how is that racist? And if you look carefully, you can just about see the expression of outrage on my face.
Because you're saying that somebody is the nationality that they used to be. If you describe somebody else like that and saying, well, they're not really British at all because of where they were born or brought up, I think in some circumstances that would be quite improper.
So he then seems to be backpedal somewhat, perhaps already regretting the accusation of racism, I don't know.
He is a British citizen like I am, otherwise it would be impermissible to take money. And he also pays his taxes, and he employs thousands of British citizens in the north of England.
So I ask, how much did he contribute to your campaign? Instead of being upfront, it gives me a very evasive answer.
Well, all of the donations that I receive are permissible, and they are disclosed on the record by the parliamentary and independent authorities, available for everyone to see on the internet.
So he says they're available for everyone to see on the internet. So we know that he's donated hundreds of thousands of pounds to the Conservative Party, and that includes individual donations to Mr. Ellis himself. So let's look at a bit more.
They're available for everyone to see on the internet. And I'll tell you another thing. The trade unions, which sponsor the Labour Party to the tune of about 80% of all of the money that they receive, do so very often without the knowledge of every member of that union and without the individual consent of every member of that union.
Then he points his finger at me and starts lecturing me about how the Labour Party are funded by the trade unions, evading the question again. And when I say we're not talking about the trade unions now, he seems to get very flustered. But let's have a look.
So I think we have to bear in mind that those unions also require a say on the candidates, and they require a say on the policies. That doesn't happen in the Conservative Party.
We've got one more bit of footage. He says that he's answered my questions and asked me did I have anything else, which is probably a mistake because he let me back in briefly.
So thank you very much indeed. I've answered your questions. You said that was the last question. So did you have anything else?
Well, I just wanted to ask you a bit more about this man. Because
I've told you all of my campaign donations are declared, they are permissible, they are lawful, and they're available for anyone to see on the internet. Okay? So thank you very much indeed.
So I said I just wanted to know a bit more about this man. He interrupted me, repeating what he said earlier, and then abruptly breaking off the discussion and basically ran away. I said he was wanted for fraud by the Russian authorities, but by then he was already walking away. So what is an oligarch? The oligarchs, in this sense of the word, describe the huge, quickly acquired wealth of businessmen of the former Soviet republics, mostly Russia and Ukraine, during privatisation in Russia after the dissolution of the Soviet Union in the 1990s. The term oligarch is used whether or not they have any real political power, as the more general meaning of the term oligarch suggests. A lot of them have had and still do have a great deal of political power. Are the Conservative Party in the hands of a globalist elite with no ties or concerns for the people of the UK? I think so. You might disagree. I think voters in Northampton should ask Mr. Ellis about this if they get the chance. He just refers them to the internet. Well, that's quite a big thing. How much did he donate to Mr. Ellis's campaign? Why can't he just be clear and transparent about this whole issue instead of being evasive and accusing me of racism?